This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the Biden administration finally responding to the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, as people there are reporting health problems. The revival at Asbury University in Kentucky, moving public services to off-campus location as the school is encouraging and commissioning others to go out and share what they've experienced. Christian author Beth Moore opens up about her childhood abuse. Now she is naming the man behind it. And actress Christy Metz of the NBC series This Is Us is talking about a chapter she's co-authored about the bond between a parent and a child. It's a children's book called When I Talk to God, I Talk About You. All those stories and more are ahead today on CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour in East Palestine, Ohio, where the Biden administration has finally been responding to the catastrophic train derailment that's left residents there fearful of both short and long-term consequences after facing some sharp political criticism. CBN's Wendy Griffith has the story.
More than 2 weeks after a train carrying hazardous materials derailed in the small village of East Palestine, Ohio, including the toxic chemical vinyl chloride, the EPA is stepping in and ordering the railroad to take responsibility.
Norfolk Southern will pay for cleaning up the mess that they created and the trauma that they inflicted on this community.
The wreckage burned for days, and residents were ordered to evacuate their homes. Now they're reporting health problems, including skin, eye, and throat irritation.
Our face has been burning, headaches, massive, almost passing out.
This church has been turned into a health clinic where people can be seen by nurses and toxicologists. Residents are also concerned about the drinking water. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and a top EPA official going house to house to reassure citizens.
So it's safe to drink the water?
Water's safe.
Some local farmers worry about how the toxic plume of smoke from a controlled release might affect their crops.
I'm concerned for what could be the toxicity of my soil, and does that indicate how we can plant this spring?
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says he'll visit the town and announce new measures to protect against more train derailments.
We are pushing forward a three-part drive on rail safety. Things that we're doing at the Department of Transportation to raise the bar, things that we need help from Congress to do in order to hold rail companies accountable.
Norfolk Southern says 4,500 cubic yards of contaminated soil and 1.5 million gallons of contaminated water have been removed from the site. The company is vowing to do whatever it takes to make things right with the community, including putting $1 million in a recovery fund for residents. Former President Donald Trump plans to visit the Ohio town today, and celebrity environmental advocate Aaron Brockovich will host a town hall meeting this Friday as residents continue to recover. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
I want to turn now to an update on that revival at Asbury University. School officials have announced they've moved public services to off-campus locations starting Tuesday. Asbury will continue holding services for college and high school students through Thursday. A posting on the school's website said it's part of their intention of, quote, encouraging and commissioning others to go out and share what they've experienced. The revival broke out during chapel at Hughes Auditorium on February 8th when students began repenting and praying at the altar, and has continued unbroken. You can keep up with the progress of the revival and how it's spreading to other locations on cbnnews.com. The internet could soon face a significant transformation courtesy of the U.S. Supreme Court. Justices heard arguments in a case questioning whether tech companies should be held liable for content on their platforms. Right now, a decades-old law protects big tech, but that could change with the landmark decision. Caitlin Burke brings us that story from Washington.
8 years ago, a 23-year-old American college student was killed during a series of coordinated ISIS terror attacks in Paris. In seeking justice, her family isn't going after the terrorists. Instead, they're targeting YouTube, a company owned by Google.
Hopefully by this, it'll change the laws and it'll be for the good.
The family of Noemi Gonzalez claims YouTube's internal algorithm highlighted ISIS-produced materials, radicalizing the extremists that killed their daughter. In Gonzalez v. Google, the family is suing the tech giant in a case that's made it all the way to the Supreme Court. Tuesday, justices listened to arguments centering on Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, the 1996 law stating that internet companies cannot be sued over content uploaded by third-party users.
Section 230 has really been evoked across all sorts of cases because the courts have given them tech companies broad immunity with Section 230. Really, they've interpreted the original text of the law to be far more encompassing than what it was originally intended to be, and I think it's best seen through the algorithm issue.
During Tuesday's hearing, Eric Schnapper, the family's attorney, argued YouTube is not simply providing third-party content, adding the company uses an algorithm that makes unsolicited video recommendations to its users. According to Schnapper, that is not protected by Section 230.
What we're saying is that insofar as they were encouraging people to go look at things, that's what's outside the protection of the statute, not that the stuff was there.
Google, meanwhile, argued those algorithm recommendations do fall under the statute's protections because it's acting as a publisher when related videos are listed.
Publication means communicating information. So when websites communicate third-party information and the plaintiff's harm flows from that information, C1 bars the claim.
During their questioning, the justices agreed tech companies should not have blanket protection, although they struggled to find the line where companies would become liable. Justices frequently wondering aloud if this should be an issue for the courts or Congress.
We're a court. We really don't know about these things. You know, these are not like the 9 greatest experts on the internet.
Schnapper said he believes the court should simply apply the statute the way it was written, while also agreeing Congress has a role to play. Today, another important internet regulation case, this one with Twitter as the defendant. It also deals with Section 230 protections, questioning whether the tech giant should be held liable for failing to keep ISIS off its platform. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
I want to turn now to search and rescue efforts in Turkey after another deadly 6.4 magnitude earthquake that struck the country and neighboring Syria Monday evening. And it was followed by a magnitude 5.8 quake along with dozens of aftershocks. The death toll has reached 47,000 since the original quakes on February 6th. CBN's Operation Blessing is helping victims of these terrible earthquakes. You can help by calling 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to cbn.com. You can also send a donation to Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. The address is CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia 23463, or you can text OBDR to 7177. Anything you're able to do is greatly appreciated. Coming up, a bombshell from Christian author Beth Moore. She's opened up about her childhood abuse before, but now she's ready to name the man behind it. Beth Moore reveals her lifelong secrets when we come back. Bible teacher and best-selling author Beth Moore is known worldwide for her ministry to women. In a new memoir, she reveals her own personal trauma of childhood sexual abuse, a haunting death wish, and extreme challenges in her marriage. CBN's Charlene Aaron spoke with Beth Moore about her past and her present struggles.
In her latest book, All My Knotted Up Life, Beth Moore delivers a compelling self-portrait filled with unexpected twists and turns, with the final destination being God's enduring love and faithfulness. CBN News sat down with the prominent Christian leader at her Living Proof Ministry headquarters in Houston, Texas. We talked just days after the sudden loss of her brother Wayne, who, along with her other siblings, appear on the cover of her new book.
I just looked up to him and just loved him so much. We are reeling. But I had gotten him an advance copy of the memoir, and it has moved me so much to know that he got to see himself through my eyes in those pages.
The title, All My Knotted Up Life, parallels Moore's difficult childhood in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Why did you feel the need to be so vulnerable and so open about?
I've always tried to be transparent in what I shared, but I just get to be a little more specific this time around.
Over the years, Moore has often talked about her childhood sexual abuse. For the first time, she reveals her father as her abuser.
I'm not sure anything impacts the life more than your protector being your perpetrator. In other words, my father was the person on earth that I could trust the least.
Growing up, this secret weighed heavily upon her.
Normally, there is a sense of threat. Like, he would not have said, you better not ever tell this. But what he did say over and over was that we had to protect my mom because she was not stable. So he used that. So there was like, I'm going to not only split up my entire family, but I'm going to cause my mother to kill herself.
Moore says her father's active participation in their local church made living with her abuse even harder.
I got to watch him just, prance up and down those aisles and teach his classes and usher, and the confusion of that. The very fact that within those walls, I believed my Sunday school teachers over what I was seeing with authority at home, to me is a testimony of God's grace.
A grace she would need in an even greater way later in life, in her constant struggle with the bad memories.
I definitely had a death wish. Definitely. It seemed to me at several points in my life, this is the only way out.
The Bible teacher also shares about challenges with her husband's mental illness, how it has shaped her marriage of 45 years.
The thing about what Keith had dealt with very severe PTSD and then bipolar, you never knew when there was going to be a sudden episode.
As Moore reflected on those dark days, she saw hope as her anchor.
I never knew what was coming when the sun came up, and neither did he. Neither did he. We had no idea what that day was going to hold. It might be wonderful. It might, before the sun set, it might be frightful. I guess the best thing that has come out of it for me and for us is that you talk about a woman casting herself on Jesus.
While crediting God for holding her family together, Moore quickly points out how therapy also helped with her healing.
Support is a necessity, be it therapists, be it a small group, whatever it is, but there is such a sense of being locked in it anyway that there has to be a way that we are able to be around others and communicate with others.
Moore has also seen her share of controversies. In 2016, she tweeted about the sexual abuse scandal involving then GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump. The backlash from churches was swift. She writes in her memoir, "Daily I received word that my Bible studies were being pulled out of more churches. Some were boxed up and sent back to us. I was told some of them were burned."
It affected me and my family profoundly. The whole face of the ministry changed dramatically.
For years, Moore's teachings had been a feature of the Southern Baptist Convention, the denomination she had been a part of her entire life. It was there that she was baptized and began her love of Scripture. In 2021, she found herself increasingly at odds with SBC leadership over issues ranging from women's roles in ministry, racial justice, and more specifically, its failure to care for sexual abuse victims.
We've been taught somehow that the right thing to do is shelter the abuser, and to the degree that we have somehow distorted such a doctrine of grace that we then are not protecting the abused.
Moore eventually decided to leave.
That was like a death that will probably take me a lifetime for whatever's left to continue to process. These are people I have and do love very much.
Beth, you have demonstrated faithfulness to God, forgiveness, perseverance through all that you've endured. How did you tap into that grace and that strength? And how challenging has it been to minister to people even when you had personal issues going on in your life?
I can't go back and relive my life. I can't go back and make 1,000 decisions differently, which I wish I could do. I can't rewrite it. It's just what it is. But I can see to it that the grace that the Lord has poured on me is not in vain. That is my hope.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News, Houston.
Beth Moore's book is called All My Knotted Up Life, and you can find it wherever books are sold. Still ahead, actress Chrissy Matz of the long-running NBC series This Is Us talks about a new chapter in her life. It's a children's book she co-authored. It's called When I Talk to God, I Talk About You. We'll hear more from her right after this. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. You may know actress Chrissy Matz from the long-running hit series on NBC called This Is Us. Now, she has wrapped that show. She has begun a new chapter alongside Bradley Collins in a gorgeous, heartwarming children's book that celebrates faith, prayer, and the loving bond between a parent and a child. It is called When I Talk to God, I Talk About You.
Hi everyone, it's Chrissy.
And Bradley.
And we have really exciting news that we just could not wait to share with you all. We have written our very first ever picture book.
Chrissy, you close the chapter on This Is Us and decide when that you're going to be a children's book author.
Well, you know, I taught preschool and I have a huge family.
Yes.
So children, I always have wanted to write a children's book. It was always something that was really important to me, and I had ideas, but it wasn't until I met Bradley and we met over the pandemic, and you know, you didn't really spend a lot of time together. We spent a lot of time talking and getting to know each other, and we just had the same sort of school of thought about how important it is to foster children, you know, to bolster them with self-esteem and self-confidence, and that it was really important for us. And we decided that we should write a children's book about it. And it was just something that, you know, when like something's just put on your heart, you're like, oh, I feel like I should do this.
It's called When I Talk to God, I Talk About You. And there's the journey to the dream of raising a child and watching them grow up right before your eyes.
Bradley, describe the process for you working with Chrissy and diving into creating children's literature.
Well, yeah, the process for me and where it came from for me is my grandfather was very sick when I was a child, about the same age that this book is for. And this book, when we were writing it, the process was, how do we explain that you can pray for your children, you can pray for your friends at school, you can pray for your pets, you can pray for your grandparents at a young age, and that it's okay to have a relationship because whatever is on your heart is what you need to talk to God and thank Him for, and also ask for guidance and help with.
I think in reading it, it really makes prayer more like a conversation than some complicated process that we make it. Was that the intention?
Absolutely.
That was the intention, and we had to keep on refining it and making it as simple and direct as possible, so it's told through animals.
It is a very complex, big concept to speak to a higher power that we can't necessarily see. And we really wanted to just, you know, remind people that you can pray anytime, any time of the day, anywhere. I mean, I'm doing it constantly throughout the day. I mean, for everybody and everyone in every situation, and make it a concept that was just relatable.
Nice. Take me inside the pages. Don't want to give away everything, but tell me the story. What happens inside?
You know, yeah, it starts off, you know, with a mother bird sitting in a nest, and then you find out that she had a baby, and it's about wanting to become a parent as much as it is about being a parent.
Yeah, so, you know, I've had a lot of friends who aspire to be a parent, and so we were inspired by the story of, you know, whether you are fostering, adopting, or you're a biological parent, the dream and the hope and the wish to have a child, to then instill, you know, the connection of God with them, and hopefully they create their own relationship with God. So it really is seeing children through a mentor, a parent, you know, their eyes, and how they're loved and they're purposeful and they're really necessary and they're wanted. And I don't think that's a through line that we often hear a lot. And that we should, and I know I want to, and I would like to instill that in other people as well, that if you're here, you're purposeful. You know, those words of encouragement really, at a very young age, are put upon a kid, and like, it's really how they walk through life. And if they don't feel encouraged or supported or wanted or loved, it can make for a very difficult experience. And so we just want to sort of reiterate and remind, and through the obviously story of a parent to child or a mentor to child, that that they are important. And I think that's so important.
Yeah. So important. I mean, we see it in the title, When I Talk to God, I Talk About You. How did you two arrive at such a beautiful title?
Well, we had a couple different titles. Even if people aren't prayerful and they might not even have prayed before, I think that people understand, especially going through a pandemic, especially going through something that we've never been through before, that we understand that there is something bigger and greater than ourselves. It rang really well, and I felt like it really explains the book without going into too much detail. I mean, I don't know what is more special than someone saying, I spoke to God about you.
When I Talk to God, I Talk About You is available right now wherever books are sold. For more uplifting entertainment, be sure to join us for Studio 5 tonight. We've got an inside look at an historic revival that makes a splash on the big screen in the film Jesus Revolution. Husband and wife duo Seth and Nerva make a return to the music scene, and a man at the center of all the action on the ice as a professional hockey player glides in to share his story. You can catch that all on Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern. You can also download the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube. We'll be right back with an encouraging word for your Wednesday ahead. Stay with us. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is faith. Know this, faith, just a little, goes a long way. Mustard seed faith can actually move mountains, and it can even move you. Faith is needed to please God, and even in short supply, just a little faith, you can do a whole lot of good. With that word and faith, make this a wonderful Wednesday. Well, that is a wrap for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com, and reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.